I'd like to call the Board of Public Works meeting for June 27th, 2017 to order. First on the agenda is to ask if anybody is recording this other than LCAP.
Shirley Tancredi for the minutes.
Thank you, Shirley. First is a review and approve the minutes of the June 14th, 2017 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 14th.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? All right. We'll go right on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, a few items tonight to update the board on. One we talked about before, the 2017 road paving project bids are due this Thursday at 2 p.m. We expect to receive bids from Lane Construction and Palmer Paving as we typically do in the past. So we'll know by the end of the day Thursday how we stand relative to our budget and what funds we have available to do additional road-related work this year. So my goal is to try to get that wrapped up and at least get a recommendation to award, before I'm wrapped up this week. Kibbe Water Main Project we do now have a schedule from the contractor. It's going to be kicking off, not Kibbe Road, Maple Shade Water Main Project will be kicking off on July 10th. And I'll be sitting down with Mr. Esposito and the contractor this Friday to go over sort of the ground rules as part of a kickoff meeting. And then they'll be in town on the 10th. And myself, Mr. Esposito, and actually Daryl Keene will be our primary guy in the field, keeping an eye on the contract, making certain they're heading in the right direction, and staying on top of things during construction to get it wrapped up July and August. I did talk to Mr. Fenney about getting a call out to town residents, most likely the week of July 4th, just to give everybody a heads up in town that we're going to be starting construction the following week. And if at all possible, to have people stay away from the Maple Shade Ave area. It will just make life easier for everybody, the least amount of traffic we can have on that road. I expect that there's going to be at least partial closures and perhaps a complete closure except for local traffic, given the location of the water main, which is really going to run right down the middle of the street. It'll be difficult to we won't be able to maintain two-way traffic. It may not be worth the trouble of trying to maintain one-way traffic.
Gotta get it done.
Yeah.
Quick as possible.
So that'll be coming up shortly. Maple Street water main design, I think we talked about before, that's out to our design technician. He's working on it right now. The specifications are getting wrapped up, I hope, this week. So the goal is to get this out to bid sometime after the 1st of July, with the goal of having the construction done probably in the fall. It won't be a great time to do the work, but it's going to be a tough probably 12 to 18 months in that area, with the water main work that we're going to be doing first, and then the roadway improvements that'll be coming in behind us. It will be coming down pretty much the north lane of Maple Street from Westwood to the intersection of Dwight and Williams, and then coming down the double yellow line essentially towards Benton, and then cutting back into Chestnut. And that allows us to stay out of the way of the existing utilities, and then wrapping around the backside to connect into the existing main that is there. Town of Long Meadows looked at the concept at this point. They're happy with the location, so it does appear that it's all going to work out. Line striping, we've had some royal talk about the line striping. We're done with our crew. Highway safety systems is underway. The wet weather we've had, particularly at nighttime during the line striping time, has made it problematic for the work that they're doing, not only in East Long Meadow but elsewhere in the state. So we're likely not going to get all the way to 50% completion this fiscal year as we had hoped. We'll probably be between at least 25%, but maybe 25 to 50%. But it's pretty difficult to paint when it's cold and wet at night. We've had a lot of cold, wet nights lately. One item I think is likely good news is, and for a couple of years now, I've been talking about the new stormwater regulations that were due to take effect on July 1st of this year. We and many other people received word last week that the EPA has put a stay on adopting the new regulations as a result of several legal challenges that have been filed. Apparently, that have all gone all the way up to the federal level. They have not yet indicated how long that stay is going to be, but the word is that it could be as much as a year. So instead of the new regulations coming, or new permit coming into effect on July 1st of this year, it may be coming in effect July 1st of next year, which would be a good thing. If a little bit less regulation doesn't hurt anybody at this point. Some good news relative to the trihalomethane sampling that we do quarterly, which was the subject of a public notice that went out to all town residents after our first quarter sampling. We completed the second quarter sampling on June 7th, and we came in well below the thresholds, so we don't have to provide any public notification. We're well within our limit, and really where we expected to be as a result of the improved coordination that we have with Springfield Water and Sewer and ourselves. We are talking and communicating on a weekly basis these days, so they know what we're doing, we know what they're doing, and we make adjustments if necessary. So that has turned out the way that we had expected it to turn out. I put one item in your package today. It's a draft letter. We've talked about the subject in the past, and this is the report that we owe to the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission that talks about our sewer connection points to the city of Springfield and the commission's system. The map, I believe, which is part of the packet you've seen previously, it identifies the 7 connection points to the city of Springfield, and the connection points that are metered and the connection points that aren't metered. In addition to the words that go along with this description, really what's important, if you take a look at page 4 of the draft letter, that's just before the figure, that presents essentially the numbers that go along with the connection points. The 2 largest flows, as you can guess just by visually looking at this map, is from Area A, the Franconia Golf Course, tributary area, and Area E, which is what flows up actually through Fenway Golf off of Porter Road. And given the sizes of those areas, as expected, they would contribute the largest amount of flows. The flow numbers we call out here are actually based on temporary flow meters that we installed last spring. We installed them primarily for the purpose of helping us identify sources of infiltration inflow. It wasn't a great spring because we were starting to get into the onset of the drought last spring, so we cut the metering short, but it did give us some helpful information to give us an idea of what flows typically are in those areas. So what you see here is the results of about 45 days worth of metering on an average daily basis, what the flows were in those 2 areas. Then you can see in some of the smaller areas that I think are likely areas that the town and the commission can come into agreement that we probably don't need to put meters in, because many of those areas are pretty much built out at this point. So you can fairly reliably count the number of residences, and then assign a gallon per resident number and come up with an estimated flow. I think that both sides could agree to, and they're obviously much less significant numbers. But I would expect the areas associated with Area A and Area E are areas that the town is most likely going to have to install meters at, to then be able to get reliable real-time information that becomes part of what we get billed by the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission. It's interesting, Area E, and none of us were involved at that point, so none of us know really why, but the pipeline that comes into Springfield, there was actually a metering station constructed on that pipeline that was never put into service. There's a concrete structure, there's a pipeline, there's a monitoring physical device there. It doesn't have the instrumentation in the place to actually do the monitoring, but it was put there for that purposes. And back in the 70s, a decision must have been made between the parties that there wasn't the need to put a meter in there. So the good news, I guess, is that a lot of the infrastructure is already in place to put in the instrumentation that's necessary to meter at that location. But it will be, I've talked about it before, it will be a significant impact, because we do pay based on an estimated flow from these metered areas, but as a result of having a more up-to-date count on what those flows might be, I expect that our bills will go up as much as, probably in the range of 20 to 25% perhaps, based on the numbers that I was working on this week. So it will be a significant impact.
Are these numbers that you are projecting this year's numbers, or because I'm just thinking about I&I?
Right.
bump it up on more of a normal season?
The numbers that the big numbers, the two areas, Area E and Area A, those are based on last spring's numbers. And last spring, in March and April, wasn't the typical spring, but when you take a look at those numbers, I have a general sense that there will be a pretty good average number, because it was a drier than normal spring, but it was still more than the average yearly flow. So it's a what's the best way to say it? It's probably a slight increase over average flow, so that it accounts for the infiltration that we see during the wet season. The other areas, what I've done is I've taken a look at what our average water usage is per residence. I've assumed a certain percentage of that goes down the drain, because not all of it goes down the drain, particularly during the irrigation months. Reduce that number, and then I've applied an II factor back into it. So I've taken it down to account for irrigation, and then I've brought it back up again to account for potential infiltration. So it's the number, for what it's worth, that I'm using is about 183 gallons per residence per year. I mean, per day, excuse me, 182 gallons per day. If you go to Title V would tell you designed a septic system based on 440 gallons for a 4-bedroom house, but that number is typically a monthly maximum number, not an average daily number. So a number 150, 200 gallons that's the range that you typically see from a single-family residence, with a little bit of allowance in there for infiltration inflow. So, bottom line is we owe this report to Springfield at the end of this month before I'm gone. I expect it will result in a response, most likely to install meters at 2 of these locations, and then hopefully the ability to negotiate some estimated flows for the other locations where it's really not cost effective or very practical, because it's difficult to meter low flows, to get equipment that works well at wastewater conditions.
You got to put Mazarita pumps and all that stuff in to get it.
With the type of metering device, no. The one that's installed right now at location E is something known as a partial flume. And what it is a flume that, almost like a Venturi. And what it does is it necks down both horizontally and vertically, and it creates a location where, by measuring the depth of flow alone, you can then equate that to a flow rate. So instead of having to measure depth and velocity, which is what's normally, and it's self-cleansing because of the shape of the flume, that you don't have to worry about solids accumulating or hanging up. So that's why that type of device is typically used in a wastewater application. So the town's current agreement with Springfield Water and Sewer says we owe this to them by the end of this month. They, once they review it, can require meters to be put in at one or more of the locations. Once they require that, then we have a year to put the meters in place. So if you take a look at likely impact on budgets, I don't expect this would impact fiscal 18, but it will definitely impact fiscal 19. Let's see what else. Did want to note that we still have a skilled worker opening that needs to be filled at this point as a result of Brian Waldron's promotion. I don't believe we've had many applicants come forward to date, so if anyone knows of anyone that's interested or qualified that has the required licenses, we're definitely looking. And I guess the last thing, and I expect the board to have a few things to say later probably as well, but this is my last meeting. It's been a good 3.5 years. I think I've accomplished some good things working with the people, working with Bruce, working with Roy, working with Shirley, working with the board, working with the guys. So it's mixed feelings, but it will be my last meeting today.
Highway. Oh, no, I'm sorry, building. Bruce.
Okay. So obviously, summer PM program is going on right now. We've started that process now. We've actually completed all our condensers being cleaned with a cleaning agent district-wide. We've done all the schools already, all the town buildings. So we're starting off on the right foot. We've actually received all our filters for the year also. Those have been distributed to the schools and all the other facilities in town to get ready for this upcoming year. Our summer projects list consists of doing or providing hot water to 24 classrooms over at Mountain View School. Our town plumber has actually started today. We've actually did a little bit of work over the past 6 months when school was available. Obviously, it's pretty difficult to do that work during school time, but we'll be hitting that pretty hard in the next upcoming weeks to get that ready for this upcoming school season. The other items we'll be doing is we're going to be pressure washing the town hall, getting some of that runoff, that white marks and stuff off the facade of that building, and be washing windows and doing the library also with that. We haven't done it in a couple of years, so we'll be getting that taken care of this summer. We'll be adding additional 7 circuits, as we always do at the high school, for air conditioners, for some special needs students. We've actually had a couple circuits over this past year fail over at the high school. The actual wires and the slab is actually deteriorated. We've lost a couple circuits in the auditorium over there, so we'll be refeeding those areas with obviously above ground or above the ceiling circuits. We actually lost another circuit in B2, so we had some heating issues because the univent was part of that circuit. So our electrician did a temporary fix to get that system up and running, but we'll be doing that also over at the high school. We'll also be installing 2 additional new sand filters for the pool over at the high school this summer. We'll also be doing some work here actually at the service building with Bierman Services. Our manholes on the pumps 2 and 3 pad have actually deteriorated, so we're going to be getting that done also in the next month or so. Parks related items. The Parks Department, obviously with the departing of the J.C.'s, we have actually put up all the fencing and everything else for the carnival this season. We've actually put the posts in and everything else for the fireworks over at the high school. We'll be putting up the fencing on there Friday over at the high school to get ready for the fireworks. To make everybody aware, I don't know if everybody knows, but after the cleanup for the carnival this year too, Max Landscaping will be doing the cleanup, doing loaming and seeding and everything else to help out with the cleanup at center field, so all the help is appreciated. On another note, vehicles, I've actually ordered our new backhoe 31, just waiting to execute the contracts for July 1st. So that has been ordered. Obviously, we need that piece of equipment. I've actually ordered truck 13 as of Friday also, and waiting to execute that contract on July 1st also, but all the specifications, everything else has been met. We'll be working next week or so. We have not worked on the dump truck, the new dump truck for the Department of Public Works, but we'll be sitting down with Parker Brown and Darrell Keene, our shop supervisor, and Roy to figure out all the equipment we're going to be needing on that new dump truck. That's all I have for you.
Roy,
Yes, concerning the parade route, the guys have been diligently trying to get it all cleaned up in between the rain. We got it a couple loose ends, but most of the parade route has been completed. We had it all patched. Every little hole that might be in that route's been patched. So we got a little bit more to do to get that all set. We're going to be tomorrow starting to put up the no parking signs for. That's going to take a couple days to get that all set up, and we got the barricades all ready to go for the parade and so forth. So we've been trying to keep up with that. We've also been with the summer help painting hydrants and signposts and trying to straighten them out. The mains are all done now. We're starting on the north end of town and just working our way back on all the side streets, painting any hydrants. We're also, as we paint the hydrants, they're greasing the ears, the caps, and and also installing new gaskets as needed. And then we're going to work our way towards, heading east, trying to get as much of the town as we can. With the rain, we've been keeping up on the trees as they come in. We're removing them, trimming them. We had a contractor come in on that won the bid, Wallace Tree, and they've removed all the trees we had on the bid list and ground all the stumps. So now that that's done, we're going to go around and pick up the chips and loom them and get that all squared away. Sweeping the streets, of course the mains have been done, the parade route, so forth. Now we're into the secondaries. We're going to try and get all the secondaries done as soon as we can. The sweepers is down, right now, but parts have been ordered, and we'll be getting that back up and running because when the parade is done, of course, we're going to be have to clean everything up. Manholes and catch basins, we got most of the bad ones, a couple left that we're going to clean up. Now there's a lot that are deferred that we've identified as they need some repair, but they're not that bad, so we're going to keep an eye on them. In your packet on the work order system, you'll see a couple things here. One is the ones that have been completed and sales and service. So anything you'll see the different ones on here. Most of them are markouts. We get a lot of markouts throughout the week that we have to keep up on in meters. Catch basins, we've been repairing. You can see the trees and so forth. So these are the ones for sales and service and complete, and then the ones that we have ahead of us. It's on the catch basins. There's 30 that are deferred. So we're going to keep an eye on those, and you get an idea, of what we have on the agenda. We still have some water services and so forth. So we're keeping up with that. Future, we'll be doing the cleanup on the parade and the carnival. And then once we get all caught up on the basins, of course, we're going to be starting up on the water main installations on Moore and Fern Glen. And keeping an eye on the contractor installing the water main on Maple Street. And that's all I have.
Well, calls for the scheduling the next meeting, but there will be no more meetings. I'd just like to say that this is our last meeting, and it's been a pleasure serving the town for 24 years, 8 terms. I had a good time. I enjoyed it a lot. Provided me the opportunity to work with 4 superintendents. Each one added something different, and I think each one sort of brought us to the next level. I'd like to thank Shirley and your staff for all the help and keeping the office running, and to Roy and your staff, the guys out there do a phenomenal job maintaining the roads and the parks. I mean, people don't think they realize that, we're the highway, the parks, the water department, sewer department, the building maintenance and utilities, and the highway department. Just with snow removal, I think there's not a community around that really, I think, compared to us, we do a great job. And the projects that we do, some water projects, save the town a lot of money when we do the work ourselves. This has been great. Bruce, you and your staff, just the job you've done with the town hall and the senior center, just been phenomenal. Saved the town a lot of money, and makes it really proud to walk into the town hall and see the old building looking as good as ever. So John,
Yeah, so,
it's been a pleasure having you working beside me and working with you and Tom. You and I, you were on 21 years, right? 22 years.
yeah.
And Bob, before this, you were with Time Bond and, did a lot of our projects, so you were very familiar with not only us, but the town and our systems. And when you said you would be interested in the job as superintendent, I don't think we could have found a better person than you to do it. You did a phenomenal job, and I just hope the town can find another superintendent and keep going what you started.
Thank you.
John?
So I don't want to be redundant to what Dan just said. I certainly agree with everything he said, but 22 years, I think, like he said, we've accomplished a lot. Put a lot of processes in place and helped, bring the town through a lot of technology. We had some pushback, obviously, on, having the vehicles on GPS and having guys held accountable to some electronic stuff, but I think the team has put a lot of good things together for the town. I know our budget has come in, I think, one of the best budgets traditionally year in and year out, and I think that's through the hard work of the board and the superintendent and the staff, keeping an eye and a focus on everything. So I was brought home from the hospital to East Long Meadow. I've lived in East Long Meadow my whole life. Our headquarters for our business is in East Long Meadow. I wish only the best for East Long Meadow, but I sincerely want to thank the residents and taxpayers for their support for 22 years for us doing what we did, and I wish everybody the best and success in the future as well. And Danny, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate the first time you asked me to your house and said, would you consider it? And it's just been a good run. And I know, while I can't speak for Tom, I know he had said to me more than once that he wished he had taken on the opportunity sooner, because he also, in his 5 years, has had a great run and had some good times as far as strategizing, planning, and trying to make a better East Long Meadow through all that we do. So again, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of your efforts. And again, I wish nothing but the best for East Long Meadow. I'm here and staying here, and I'm sure if asked, I could offer up anything anybody might want. But at this point, I think we're done.
Last, I'd like to thank Kelly for being here and filming all these meetings for us. I think it provides the residents of East Long Meadow an opportunity just to see what's going on and hear what's going on in East Long Meadow. And on that, I think I'd like to ask for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.